Good morning. It's just after 10 o'clock on Tuesday, January 20th. This is an open door, and we are in our regular Tuesday meeting where we review A Course in Miracles daily lesson. And today we're on the daily lesson 77, which is I am entitled to miracles. I am entitled to miracles. Usually the way that we begin this class is, or this gathering, is that I read through the first 50 lessons. And we sort of marinate in the first 50 lessons, and then I read the lesson for today. But I thought that because today's lesson is I am entitled to miracles, and this is really a new opportunity, I think, as we have progressed to lesson 77, to talk a little bit about, or to marinate a little bit in what a miracle is, because we think we know, but I thought it might be helpful for us to sit in a kind of a guided contemplation of the first 25 or so principles of miracles, so that we could just marinate in what they are and remember what miracles are. And then we can open it up and talk about this lesson and what it means to us personally, or what certain miracles might mean, or miracle principles might mean. I know that when I went through and reread them, I was reminded of things about miracles that I had forgotten. So, yeah, so welcome. It's good to see everybody this morning. I know it's early. 10 o'clock is kind of early for some of us, and some of us are on different time schedules. So it's probably really good for Alka because she's already had her morning. But good morning, Alka. How are things for you? Alka's pretty in pink again.
Thank you. Sorry, what did you,
I
could
just
you
wanted
repeat
to
that?
say good morning to you. What time is it there?
Four
Four.
past four.
Yeah. So it's not morning for you.
No,
All
no,
right. All right. So this will be your late afternoon contemplation.
that's right. I'm
All
going to
right.
have to leave and come back.
That's fine. No worries. So take your seat, get comfortable. I'm going to turn my screen off, and we will start in on this. You can follow along if you want, or you can just listen and allow you can allow the words to just give you and share with you whatever vibratory quality they have for you. So the lesson today is I am entitled to miracles. Sometimes we think of entitlement as a negative thing, as arrogance or ego. But once again, A Course in Miracles really turns this language on its head. And here, entitlement means it's my inheritance, my birthright. Miracles are part of the natural order of our being, and we are entitled to them. They are freely given to us, and we can accept them and should accept them with no guilt, no sense of having to pay anything back. There is no order of difficulty in miracles. One is not harder or bigger than another. They are all the same. All expressions of love are maximal. Miracles as such do not matter. The only thing that matters is their source, which is far beyond evaluation. Miracles occur naturally as expressions of love. The real miracle is the love that inspires them. In this sense, everything that comes from love is a miracle. All miracles mean life, and God is the giver of life. His voice will direct you very specifically. You will be told all you need to know. Miracles are habits and should be involuntary. They should not be under conscious control. Consciously selected miracles can be misguided. Miracles are natural. When they do not occur, something has gone wrong. Miracles are everyone's right, but purification is necessary first. Miracles are healing because they supply a lack. They are performed by those who temporarily have more for those who temporarily have less. Miracles are a kind of exchange. Like all expressions of love, which are always miraculous in the true sense, the exchange reverses the physical laws. They bring more love both to the giver and to the receiver. The use of miracles as spectacles to induce belief is a misunderstanding of their purpose. Prayer is the medium of miracles. It is a means of communication of the created with the Creator. Through prayer, love is received And through miracles, love is expressed. Through prayer, love is received. And through miracles, love is expressed. Miracles are thoughts. Thoughts can represent the lower bodily level of experience or the higher or spiritual level of experience. One makes the physical, and the other creates the spiritual. Miracles are both beginnings and endings, and so they alter the temporal order. They are always affirmations of rebirth, which seems to go back, but really goes forward. They undo the past and thus release the future. They undo the past and thus release the future. Miracles bear witness to truth. They are convincing because they arise from conviction. Without conviction, they deteriorate into magic, which is mindless and therefore destructive, or rather, the uncreative use of mind. Miracles bear witness to truth. They are convincing because they arise from conviction. Without conviction, they deteriorate into magic, which is mindless and therefore destructive, or rather, the uncreative use of mind. Each day should be devoted to miracles. The purpose of time is to enable you to learn how to use time constructively. It is thus a teaching device and a means to an end. Time will cease when it is no longer useful in facilitating learning. Time will cease when it is no longer useful in facilitating learning. Miracles are teaching devices for demonstrating it is as blessed to give as to receive. They simultaneously increase the strength of the giver and supply strength to the receiver. Miracles transcend the body. They are sudden shifts into invisibility, away from the bodily level. That is why they heal. Miracles transcend the body. They are sudden shifts into invisibility, away from the bodily level. That is why they heal. A miracle is a service. It is the maximal service you can render to another. It is a way of loving your neighbor as yourself. You recognize your own and your neighbor's worth simultaneously. Miracles make minds one in God. Miracles make minds one in God. They depend on cooperation because the sonship is the sum of all God created. Miracles, therefore, reflect the laws of eternity and not of time. Miracles reawaken the awareness that the spirit, not the body, is the altar of truth. This is the recognition that leads to the healing power of the miracle. Miracles are natural signs of forgiveness. Through miracles, you accept God's forgiveness by extending it to others. Miracles are natural signs of forgiveness. Through miracles, you accept God's forgiveness by extending it to others. Miracles are associated with fear only because of the belief that darkness can hide. You believe that what your physical eyes cannot see does not exist. This leads to a denial of spiritual sight. Miracles rearrange perception and place all levels in true perspective. This is healing because sickness comes from confusing the levels. This is healing because sickness comes from confusing the levels. This means confusing the level of form with the level of spirit. This means confusing the law of love. Miracles rearrange perception and place all levels in true perspective. Miracles enable you to heal the sick and raise the dead because you made sickness and death yourself, and therefore can abolish both. You are a miracle, capable of creating in the likeness of your Creator. Everything else is your own nightmare and does not exist. Only the creations of light are real. Miracles are a part of an interlocking chain of forgiveness, which, when completed, is the atonement. Atonement works all the time and in all dimensions of time. Miracles represent freedom from fear. Atoning means undoing, the undoing of fear. The undoing of fear is an essential part of the atonement value of miracles. A miracle is a universal blessing from God through the Christ consciousness to all the seemingly separated ones. It is the privilege of the forgiven to forgive. It is the privilege of the forgiven to forgive. The conventional definition of a miracle is that it's a divine and very rare occurrence that happens only to special people or in special circumstances. It may be an event or a physical healing of some kind. It may be a vision or an angelic visitation, but almost always miracles seem to come from the outside. They are blessings that are randomly bestowed for reasons often unknown. This is the traditional definition of a miracle. But A Course in Miracles defines miracles completely differently. They happen all the time. We just don't notice. We don't notice because we perceive through the framework of the personal mind. And the personal mind doesn't pay attention to events that are outside its scope of reference. That is why A Course in Miracles teaches that a miracle always involves a healing of inner perception. For a brief moment, the veils of the personal mind, the limited seeing of the personal mind are lifted, and then we see truly, or we know truly through the heart. Miracles come in many forms, infinite forms. One might arise in a flash of insight about a problem or a person. One might arrive in a dream. Physical events can bring forth miracles. A synchronicity is a miracle that arrives through time, teaching us that time itself is not what we think it is. But all miracles involve love in some form. Even if one appears complicated, it is just as powerful as one that seems simple. There are no big or small miracles because A Course tells us that all expressions of love are maximal. Love either is or it isn't, and it is. Miracles occur naturally as an outgrowth, an extension, an expression of the love of Source. That is the basic building block of all being. Miracles are not magical events. They are teaching devices. They are learning devices. They offer a sudden change of perception, which, if noted, if understood, if taken in and allowed, allows one to understand in a way that is closer to the truth. Very simply put, miracles help us to learn to see that things are not always what the personal mind believes. So a miracle is a bridge to the mind of God. Miracles happen on their own. The personal mind has nothing to do with a miracle. We don't work for them, and they cost nothing. They're a kind of exchange that reverses the law of this world, the law of scarcity, which says to give something, I must lose something. No one loses in a miracle. A miracle always releases fear, even fear that is unconscious, and it restores the mind to its fullness. Who, upon realizing a miracle, does not feel more full? That is how you know with conviction that it is not magic. As often as you are instructed to do so, as often as the thought arises naturally today, as often as you will it today, practice this lesson. You can do so in a 10-minute or 15-minute sitting, or you can do so all throughout the day, using the mindfulness that is yours. Just stop and say, I am entitled to miracles. This is a gift we give ourselves. It's an affirmation. If you decide to sit for 10 or 15 minutes, then just watch the breath. Sink into the silence and relax. And then when you're ready in your mind, just repeat, I am entitled to miracles. I am entitled to miracles. You're asking for nothing that doesn't belong to you already. And then just sit in peace. Witness what arises. Notice that the thoughts that arise aren't thoughts that you have willed your own self. They are thoughts that are given to you through a mind that is bigger than yours. They just arise. Just notice them. That's all you have to do. Nothing more. Meditation is often just a practice of noticing what arises in the stillness. And as we practice noticing what arises in the stillness, when the day gets noisy, It is easier to practice witnessing when it's more difficult. We practice when it's easy, so that when it's hard, we can fall back into the practice. So this meditation is a holy meditation. We do not ever meditate alone. You do not provide the miracle for yourself. Allow what arises to arise and watch the unfolding. This is you unfolding yourself to yourself. So you do not create the miracle that you are entitled to. Source has established them as your right. As Source extends itself through you, with you, as you. Every miracle is an expression of love. And all expressions of love are maximal. We are swimming in love. Eternal, infinite. I am entitled to miracles. As often as you are compelled to do so, remember that today. When you're ready, just breathe yourself back into the present moment, into the body, feeling your feet on the floor and your back resting against the chair. Breathe into your heart space. Let your hands relax. Feel your seat. Keep your shoulders soft. And just gently refocus into the present moment. And when you're ready, open your eyes and come on back. Several of these really got me. I love number 13, which says miracles are both beginnings and endings. And so they alter the temporal order. They are always affirmations of rebirth. And I love that miracles are associated with forgiveness. There is no separation between the miracle and forgiveness. Rana, good morning.
Morning, Amy. Morning, everyone. That was an exquisite teaching. I feel like there was some real clarity that came through for me, just in the basics of the course.
Yeah.
You know, I've read those 50 miracles or whatever, but you know, the personal mind was reading that. And so I've got notes all over the place, you know, the spark to write came as you were speaking. And man, that's a great feeling to have that for a moment again. Every day I write the date at the top of the page, and sometimes something gets written and sometimes nothing gets written. And I've made a decision the last couple of days not to listen to anything the thinking mind is saying, nothing at all. If something needs to be done in the moment, it will come. I am not listening to it. And there's this part that says, you have to, you know, but so that's where I'm at. In general, the sense that I get again is my job. I guess my function, right? If I'm going to use course language, my function always is to pause and step back and ask. That's the thing to do, always. Ask, be in the presence of, shift away from the world. It's over and over, you know, look beyond the physical eyes for true perception. Don't trust what the physical eyes are showing me. Something that really stuck out to me, I heard so clearly, miracles are thoughts.
Mm.
Right. And I can really see that because when I make this connection, on this bridge, if I pause in the holy instant and bring whatever it is to the altar of truth for a moment, there's a softening, a gentleness, a shift, you know, and that thought to pause is what started it all. So there's the miracle, is that thought arose. You know, so I'm really understanding some things differently. I was reminded of the guides. Miracles happen in the reclaiming. That's what we're doing. God is, God is, God is. You know, maybe fervently at first for me to just try to shut things out for a moment, you know, and just be like, oh. And then again, you know, that pause comes in that softening, and there's an alteration in the temporal order. And now I'm understanding what happens is forgiveness. there's a willingness to forgive myself and others in that moment. And there's an exchange going on there. Nothing's lost because there isn't any lack anyway. And so there were just some beautiful quotes, and things are just forging in deeper. And just the idea, the concept of extension, to give and receive is one, that kind of thing. That's been floating this week for me in different areas. I had that in the written in the lesson that we looked at yesterday. And I was like, oh, there that again. So just grateful for willingness to be here, to open to what is being taught, and just exquisite, Amy. Your voice is just lovely.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Rana. Thank you. You know, you bring up a point that I think about too all the time. I really admire your keeping a journal. I think about doing that and then I don't. But there's such a difference between making and creating. And the creation is in the extension of love. And we are so enamored of the physical world that we think making is, building a car or even making another body inside your own body. That's just another form of making. But the extension of the invisible love that's true creation. And that's a really fun thing to play with because we know that we're doing it. We know that we are creating because we feel the creation in ourself. Right? I love that it says a miracle is a service. That made me think of the guides because the guides tell us, I know who I am, I know what I am, I know how I serve. And I can remember probably 10 or 15 years ago when I first read I Am Word, I Know How I Serve. And I was reading through the miracles principles, and it talked about a miracle being a service. And that's when I understand what the guides meant when they said, I know how I serve, because they don't really explain it in word, I am word. They don't really explain what that service is. But this explains that it's a maximal, that this forgiveness, this giving and receiving, this extending forgiveness, that's extending the awareness that we're one, that what I do to my neighbor, I do to myself. That is our service. It is a form of service. And the awareness of that is a miracle. The awareness of that in the mind, and then the willingness to express it with conviction, that is a miracle, because that is accepting God's love. That is accepting the divine's love for its own creation, which is what we are. And you truly cannot give until you receive. You cannot give that miracle until you've received the miracle for yourself. And the miracle is accepting the miracle. So simple, so fundamental. Patricia.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Good to be here and see you all. It's always a pleasure because I can't get here on Monday. I was just thinking about what you were saying is accepting the miracle with gratitude. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for this wonderful experience, whatever it may be. That's all I wanted to say.
Mm, thank you. Yeah, sometimes I can remember feeling it was with relief, absolute relief. But you're right, gratitude is the word. Oh my God, everything I thought was true is not true. What a release. You know, I think I've mentioned this before, but most of us have had the experience of being in the dream state or in that liminal state between wakefulness and dreams when this feeling comes over of dread, like you've done something really wrong, something really bad or really wrong, and then you realize it's not true. You realize, oh, that's just a dream. And the relief that comes from that is profound. Right? That's what this world is. That's just a small miracle. It's showing you what this world is. Nothing in this world is any truer than anything in the dream that's being released. Rana.
Here's another quote. You are a miracle capable of creating in the likeness of your creator. Creator creates love. That's the only thing there is, right? So I'm capable of that. Only creations of the light are real, capital R real. The other is nightmare. You know, we talk about the tiny mad idea, and now we're having a dream. This literally, you said it's a nightmare, and we don't even know it. But I'm waking up to it.
Yeah. 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 Because miracles reflect freedom from fear. Right? That's the other one. Miracles represent freedom from fear. Miracles bear witness to the truth. They bear witness to the truth. They're natural signs of forgiveness. That's a really interesting sentence. Forgiveness is natural, right? Because there's nothing to forgive. Forgiveness is a natural thing. So miracles are thoughts. Miracles are a form of content. Thought is content. Right? This may get us off into a direction that we don't want to go in, but I'm going to jump in anyway. A miracle is a thought. It is a corrective thought, right? Because thoughts are content in awareness, right? Awareness itself, oneness, awareness, consciousness, resting in pure being has no content. It's just being. There are no objects of thought or physical matter or anything else, resting in pure awareness. So miracles are thoughts which are content that come into the dream state to correct the dream state and enlighten the dream state to its own dream. So in a sense, a miracle is a gift we give to ourselves. It's a self-corrective thought to the seemingly separate self that is lost in the maze of its own separateness.
So, would you say miracles are a natural flow of life? Would that be it?
I would say yes, of life in the dream. They are a natural outgrowth of love, reaching to itself, to pull itself out of ignorance, out of the loss of self-recognition.
Yeah, they're all around us.
They are. But in the state, in what the guides call the kingdom doesn't need miracles. It is the miracle. It doesn't need miracles. It doesn't need to be reminded of what it is. It knows what it is. Right?
Yeah, we forget. We forget. And then
The seemingly separate self forgets in the dream.
but there's a part of every single iteration and individualization that like remembers. And that's the atonement. Yeah.
That's the atonement. That is the atonement. The atonement is the miracle. And forgiveness is the function, because forgiveness ends the dream of separation, which is why we feel so good when we forgive, because we are forgiving ourselves. We are lifting the dream of separation from our own mind. We're lifting the thought of separation from our own mind and replacing it with another thought, but is a thought that is truer. Right.
I always thought of forgiveness as taking out a heavy stone off your rucksack and throwing it away.
It is. Yes.
Making,
Yes.
and yes, it's a miracle how light you can feel afterwards.
Miracles are fun. They're like your own, they're like a little party. Only good comes from them. And so I think our task, as long as we are in the dream, is to stay open and aware to the miracles as they unfold every moment, every day. That's the gift that we give to ourselves in the dream. It's like unwrapping a present. Right? Cindy.
Mostly raised my hand to hear my voice. Fully conscious, but in this contemplative space. So I wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to be with the teachings and to practice them. And there was a thought, and I don't know if anyone other than myself will find it um, connected to this past hour. But I find it very connected. Uh, I was listening to Joel this morning. He helps me when the nervous system's out of balance. Um, but he said, it's crazy. If you take a book and you burn it, its weight doesn't change. And meaning that God is. And it doesn't matter what shape or form it takes. Um, and that particular picture struck me as um, so out of the box for me that I felt to say it out loud, you know. If you burn a book, its weight doesn't change because the book is God and the ashes are God and this moment is God and the pain is God and the so-called others are God and the flow is God. So um, change is simply a temporary movement within consciousness and being aware that there may be activity here that clings to not wanting it to be what it is and looking at it and saying, oh, the resistance to change is God. You know, it's such an interesting unfolding. Like what here doesn't wants next week to be different or this moment to be different or yesterday to be different. And that too is God. And it comes down to the simple pointing. If you burn a book, its weight doesn't change. Is that like, I don't know why that lit up for me as we're talking about miracles and we're talking about giving and receiving are one in truth and how often this sense of a separate being wants to cling to something and run with it. And yet, ultimately, the sense of a separate being is God too. So, anyway, I just mostly wanted to say I love you. And that means I love me and to give my willingness to be in the flow of miracles. That's what I got. And it's an hour, and we meet again in an hour. And typically by this time, um, Rana drops in a private message saying XYZ is going to lead today, but she didn't do that.
It's Mel.
Mel's going to lead today, so
Oh,
come on
good.
back in an
Yeah.
hour.
Great. Well, thank you all. Thank you for your presence here and being a part of this contemplation and just being together. We'll see you in an hour.